Good afternoon, Chairman. We're now live.
No, thanks. It's afternoon already. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone present in the chamber and those listening online to the meeting of Definitive Maps and Public Rights of Way. My name is Councillor Jane King and I'm the chairman for this meeting. Can I remind those in attendance the audio-visual feed of this meeting is being broadcast live via the council's website. There's no fire drill planned, so in the event of a fire alarm, we need to leave the chamber through the rear doors behind me and leave the building onto the front car park. I will try and ensure that all members have the opportunity to ask questions and make contributions today. We will now move on to the formal agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. Andrew, do we have any apologies?
We've received apologies from Councillor Alistair Arundel with no replacement. Thank you, Chairman.
Item 2, declarations of members' interests. Do members wish to declare anything? Nope. Minutes of the previous meeting. This item is to approve the minutes of the last meeting on 3rd of January 24 as a correct record. Please note that although none of the current members were members of the subcommittee at the previous meeting, we are approving the minutes as a matter of secretarial accuracy. Do I have a proposer? Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Minutes are agreed. Excuse me. We'll now move on to our substantive item 4, revision to the definitive map modification order prioritisation policy. The actions are required for the subcommittee to review the proposed policy to make comments to the report being taken forward to the Highways and Transport Scrutiny Committee and then to the Executive Council decision. I'd like to invite Andrew Fletcher, Public Rights of Way and Access Manager, to introduce the report. Andrew.
Thank you, Chair. As you know, we have a definitive map modification order process, which is a legislative process to consider evidence for whether a right-of-way has come into existence or not. Those are usually handled by members of the public making applications to the council to recognise a right-of-way. It doesn't create a right-of-way, but it's a process of examining the evidence to see whether one has already come into existence. We've had a prioritisation policy in order to handle these applications because they take about 3 to 12 months per case to go through. And that policy has recently been reviewed in light of a substantial amount of applications that we've received over the last few years. In fact, almost 1,582%, which means that we have about 30 years to clear the backlog based on current throughput or best case throughput. The existing date-based prioritisation system doesn't really allow us to prioritise cases based on their potential value to the public, and it doesn't allow us to prioritise cases based on their potential negative impact to property owners. So we've reviewed the policy and we're proposing a weighted scoring framework where various factors can come into play to make sure that whilst we have 500 odd cases to look at, 583 in fact, we are looking at the most important ones first from the public point of view and the impact to residents' point of view. So we're proposing this change so that we look at public safety, impact to residential properties, community conflict, and a variety of different weights. The aim is that the greatest potential public benefit will be looked at first, and the ones that reduce property blight are looked at first. And it's looking to create a more clearer, more consistent and objective process that takes away as much as we can the subjective elements as to which one we're going to do. And it also helps to address issues of transparency, because people are not entirely sure why a case has been prioritised the way it has. With the scoring system, it will be much easier to show what has been taken into account. We've had consultation with the Lincolnshire Local Access Forum. They are suggesting indicative timeframes and factoring in how much time has been on the list. We don't recommend that we factor in the time frame in there, because the idea is that we're looking at what's the most public benefit rather than how long has it been there. But we have suggested that we could put historic cases where we've made a decision and haven't taken it through as a priority. Indicative timeframes, whilst we understand what the Local Access Forum is saying there, it's very difficult to really give anything meaningful for the public, and we'll end up either getting their hopes up or giving them something so wide as to be worthless. But that is the summary of where we've got to where we are, and if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, thank you very much. I've got a few questions for you. I understand the deadline for the putting in, let me just read what I've got here. The scrapping of the deadline for registering of historic rights of way was set for 2031, and it was due to be scrapped by the government. Have they actually done that? Have they got that through yet? Because it did say on the thing I was reading, they're hoping to do it.
They declared an intention to do that on Boxing Day, but it hasn't come through in any legislation yet.
Right, okay. Just a few other things, actually. The bulk of these obviously came due to this deadline being set, and obviously a lot of people went out of their way to basically start mapping where they probably wouldn't have done so previously. Have we actually got cases where it's sort of the same person or group of people have put in the substantial number? And if that's the case, have we actually asked them what are their priorities and tried to try and basically sort out where they've just added things for the sake of it? Whereas there's obviously some of these paths and such like are required, if you see what I mean. There's going to be a subtle difference between them just sitting there with their maps going, yeah, we'll have that, and actually ones that people want. And I'm just wondering, where's the balance between, say, the parish council's desire to have something done because it's needed, and these guys who are just sitting there with their 2031 deadline going, tick, 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 we'll do those. So where is that balance with this, to, discussions with parish councils and find out indeed what county councillors, district councillors and parish councillors deem as important?
I'll pass over to Mr. Pickwell for that one.
So firstly, am I on actually? Yeah. Okay, so firstly, about 400 applications have come from one person, and that's about 69% of our caseload. It has been pretty much a desk-based exercise, so they've gone through the whole of archives and anything, and if it's got a sniff of it being a right-of-way, then it's been claimed. Whether it serves a function, may serve a function or not. The issue for us is once the application's been made, we're then duty-bound to investigate that. And I think this is where the priority policy system comes in, is it helps us to identify, well, which cases are going to offer the best public benefit for us to progress as a priority. So it's a way of prioritising all those applications, if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's really interesting. I had a funny feeling it might be something like that. So as far as involvement of parish councils and county councillors go and such like, I've never actually in my time been sent a list of these. Is it something that could maybe be done where we contact the local councillors and say, talk to your parishes, find out what they think are priorities, and then you might find that some of them just think some of these are pie in the sky and not required. Obviously you do have to do them and look at them at some point, but I'm just wondering if using that function would give us a better list to work on than, as you say, 400 odds.
I think there's the risk with that, I suppose, and I like the idea of getting the individual involvement, is that for each individual parish, they may think that their ones are all top priority. There may be some that are probably, won't be needed if they're just dead ends or things like that, but there's a risk that we'll get a high positive from every parish saying our one's a top priority, then we would end up having to figure out which ones they are, and this is where our policy sort of does come in. There is elements within the policy allow them to appeal if they disagree, and that comes back to the subcommittee. And in fact, on that front, they still, above and beyond that, have the ability to go to the planned inspectorate for an appeal if they disagree with the council's position. So I think that's would be where my concerns would be if we ask everybody what do they think. I think it's helpful from a certain perspective to get their ideas, but parish A would say and parish B would say these ones are the top priority for them, and that would be true, but we wouldn't know which ones to start with.
Yeah, it's from my own viewpoint. I could go to my parish councils and just say, here's the list. What do you feel about these? And I just think it'd be interesting to get that feedback to see what they actually think is a priority, because there might be some in there which they think is important. They'll know about their developments, and obviously they're well aware of the existence of these things around their areas. But when I went online to try and find the list properly, I could find, I could flick through the various names and such like, but I couldn't do anything by division. Is there a way to get those lists sort of specifically for my area from the online tool?
Absolutely, we can either provide that, but I think there is a way online, but we can provide it separately as well.
Has anyone else got anything? No. So basically, if there's no other proposals, can we propose the recommendation on the report, and that the committee have reviewed and may comment on the proposed policy? Can I have a proposer, please? There you go. Yeah. So we'll now vote. Those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Thank you. So, there we go. So, that's it. That now concludes the business of the meeting. We'll conclude at whatever it was. Thank you everyone for attending.